So thank you very much, Dr. Arunji, for giving the insight of preparing the budget. And as all of us, we know that it's always a challenging to prepare a budget by keeping the fiscal deficit low, and also at the same time to meet the challenges and aspiration of the people like us in our country. And the third challenge before us was the COVID. And despite of having these three major challenges, we should give credit to our Honorable Finance Minister for preparing such a wonderful budget, which will open a door towards India at the rate of 100. That means, as we know that now we are celebrating the Azadi Ke Amrit Mahotsav when India is 75. And this budget will definitely create and initiate the journey towards India at the rate of 100, when we'll be celebrating our independence after 100 years. And this is the vision that has been set through this budget. And this is the beginning only, and we have to go a long way. And definitely some of the aspects that we were talking about, like Ken-Bethua river connectivity and the flood management in the Bihar. Let me tell you that this, I am dealing in my ministry all these issues. And it is, how much challenging it is to have that river connectivity, whatever our former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji had a dream to have the river connectivity in this country. When we practically implement it, we see the displacement problems and restoration of the people, forest issues, and so many issues. Despite of that, we have taken up these challenges to have the first river connectivity in this country, that can be the river connectivity. And for with respect to the flood management, since you are a part of this budget preparation, as you know, that flood management also we have put up a cabinet note for approval to extend this flood management scheme from 2021 to 2026 for next 5 years, and definitely it will be approved. And we can take up such proposals from Bihar, Assam, West Bengal, Uttar Pradesh, where we are having a severe flood problem, and every year we are losing our property. And it will be taken up seriously. Thank you so much for your wonderful talks. And it was nice to meet you and have you in our platform of the Rashtriya Boudhik Manch. Thank you very much. So, dear friends, we have our next speaker. He's very renowned in the field of finance and economics, Shri Anand Singh Bhal ji. He was the former principal economic advisor, Government of India. Let me just give a small introduction about him, and then we can invite him for his talk. Shri Anand Singh Bhal ji. He has a master's degree in economics from the prestigious Delhi School of Economics, and an MSc in Public Economic Management from Brigham University, UK. Prior to joining the Indian Economic Services, he has worked as a lecturer in Delhi University and as a banker with the State Bank of India. So Anand Singh Bhal ji joined the Indian Economic Service in the year 1985 and has worked in the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Commerce and Industries, Ministry of Heavy Industries, Department of Public Enterprise, Planning Commission, and Ministry of Urban Development. And really having such rich experience gaining from different industries, today will be definitely benefited to listen to him. He has also served as an officer of special duty, that is OSD, to the Chief Economic Advisor in the Ministry of Finance for 5 years, and leading on the project relating to the trade and industry and microfinance. He was trainer at the Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy, as we know that one of the prestigious institute in our country to train the civil servants at Mussoorie. And he had already delivered so many lectures in Lavsana. So having such vast experience, I hope our audience will be benefited to listen to you. Now I would like to invite the honorable speaker today, that is Shri Anand Singh Bhal ji, to deliver his address. Over to you.
Thank you, Jena ji. So I will take off from where Mr. Anil Gupta and Arun ji have spoken, and I'll add my bit to it. So just, I bring back my own old lecturership traits back. So I'll put the budget in perspective for the people, and before I get into the details. So the budget, always remember, has to be seen in the overall context of government policy. Budget cannot be isolated from the macroeconomic policy or the monetary policy or the commerce and trade policy or industrial policy. No, budget is always situated in the context of the other policies of the government. So that is something we have to remember. You cannot have a macroeconomic policy emphasizing redistribution and the budget emphasizing growth. You can't do that. The budget has to sort of be in consonance with the overall macroeconomic and other redistribution policies of the government. And to go back to my college days, I'm remembered of Professor Amresh Bagchi. When he would talk about budget, he'll say the finance minister has two important functions to do. One, he has to perform the accountant's job of matching the expenditures with the revenues, which Arun was giving you the detail. So the first job of the finance minister is that he or she has to play an accountant's job of looking at the details of the receipts and the expenditures and then work out the fiscal deficit. But that's not the only job of the budget. The other function of the budget, it's also a vehicle for public policy. The budget has often been used as a vehicle for making important policy pronouncements. And this is especially true about 8 or 9 years back. As a country matures and grows, this second aspect of the budget, where it is used as a vehicle for public policy, goes into the background, because as a country matures, you realize you need not wait for budget time to make important policy pronouncements. Like take the case of India. See, we are very happy we've gone ahead and announced some very important scheme, production linked incentive scheme and the Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme, not in the budget, but otherwise during the course of the year. So this second function of the budget, when the budget as a vehicle, as an instrument to announce public policies, that role is on the decline now. That's broadly I'd like to start off with. And now as part 2 of my lecture, I would like to say what are the 4 most important sort of highlights of the budget for me at a very macro level. What are the 4 things which leap out of the budget? So the first is the very strong growth focus with that heavy emphasis on capital expenditure spending. This is a futuristic, growth-oriented budget. There's not too much emphasis on, redistribution. The finance minister was under a lot of pressure. Why don't you impose inheritance tax? Why don't you increase the tax for the rich and all? No, she didn't bow down to all that. The government's philosophy, as shown in the budget, is if growth goes on a broad-based, sector-based, then it will take care of employment and will take care of the incomes of everyone. So this emphasis is very much there in the budget. And so A, the budget has a very strong growth focus as shown in the heavy capital expenditure. B, we have to go the Atmanirbhar way. So the pandemic taught us that the global value chains are very fragile. India was relying on pharmaceutical products, on semiconductor chips, on our neighboring countries, China and Taiwan. And suddenly during the pandemic, there was a huge kink in the global value chain, and India and the world realized that you cannot now depend on a few large countries for your inputs. So India, including all of the world, is now trying to make its global value chains strong. And for that, it's very important to go in for the Atmanirbhar Bharat. So that has been announced by the government, and the government, even in this budget, went ahead with it by asking defense that you should be Atmanirbhar, 68% of the defense purchases should be inside, stop all imports of budgets and all. We can get into those details later. So among the 4 important points, a very strong growth focus, futuristic, a very strong focus on Atmanirbhar Bharat, and it is not a populist budget. It was very easy for the government to go and since elections in 5 states are there, it would have been very easy to provide lots of SOPs and incentives to the various state governments, but the government did not bow to that temptation. And it's a very creditable thing. As our friend Mr. Gupta said, in fact, in a way, it's a boring budget. All those people who waited for concessions and stuff like that, they didn't meet their expectation. And last but not the least, it is a futuristic budget which sets the tone for the next 15 to 20 years of the Indian economy. Why futuristic? You see, the word digital was used 26 or 27 times in the budget. The word technology was used about 25 times. And this is the way the world is going. The entire manufacturing, services, even in agriculture, the backbone is being provided by our very strong digital infrastructure. And there's a very strong embrace of technology in all parts of the economy, whether it is artificial intelligence, whether it is the Internet of Things, and going ahead to the global, the RBI digital currency. So it is a futuristic budget which says we'll go for growth, we'll be more self-reliant on this, and we'll make heavy use of the digital technology, the digital backbone and infrastructure we have, and embrace the latest technology, whether it is electrical vehicles, whether it is drones and what have you. So India's all set to, go into the sort of growth stratosphere. See, till 2007, the World Bank classified India as a lower income country because our GDP per capita was $940 or something. But from 2008, our GDP per capita rose, and India is now classified as a lower middle income country. So as Mr. Gupta was saying, we are no more a lower income country. We are a lower middle income country. So along with that, as we say in the Batman series, with great responsibility comes great power. Sorry, with great power comes great responsibility. So as you emerge into a more higher category of economy, your policies, your orientation, your entire ecosystem has to evolve in line with the global world. Okay, so these figures have already been gone through. The budget's first job of accountant's job. So the fiscal deficit from 6.9% this year is going to come down to 6%. And as Mr. Arun said, we'll come over to 4% in a couple of years. I'm sure we'll do it. So the Indian economy is quite resilient, and in the scheme of things, once our ecosystem is in place, we'll definitely bounce back. And the target of meeting, 3% might take some more time. The FRBM target, was 3% of GDP, but we'll reach up to 4% by the year we've suggested that. So the two important figures in the accountant side is the fiscal deficit figure of 6.4%, and then the capital expenditure figure, the huge leap over the previous year. You see, a lot of people would say, oh, there's not enough done for demand. What will happen to employment? What will happen to demand? But you see, to give you an example, 22,500 kilometers of road, national highways will be made this year. This is phenomenal. I mean, the National Highway Authority of India does a wonderful job, and the Indian government has to be patted for its great performance in reaching the infra targets. So 22,500 kilometers in 1 year is phenomenal. If you want to go to history, till 2014, we had 70,000 kilometers of highway. In the last 7 years, we made 40,000 kilometers of highways. But in 1 year, we proposed to make 22,500 kilometers. And when you construct roads, what happens? There are about 20 odd forward and backward leakages. The cement sector, the steel sector, Saria, the food shops, the transports, all this get employment and get demand. So it is a fairly road construction is also labor intensive thing. So employment will also grow. Money will go into the hands of the workers, and demand will also grow. And as Mr. Gupta very rightly said, the theories on fiscal deficit are changing. Now it's accepted that you can have 5 to 6 to 7% of fiscal deficit, provided you're using that money for productive purposes and not spending it on unnecessary consumption. So globally now they're accepting the fact that as long as the country can use that extra money which they are getting through fiscal deficit and put it in productive uses like building ports, roads, waterways, factories, and what have you, the country can maintain that. All right. So now let me come to the other role of the government as a vehicle for public policy. So as I've said, I've taken 4 or 5 policy announcements, and I'll read it out to you. But again, I emphasize this role of the budget as a vehicle for public policy has certainly come down. In a developed country, you go to USA and UK, no one bothers about the budget. It's a very little, unlike the big Mela and Jamburi, which happens in India with all chambers of commerce and all journalists, making a Diwali or Mela out of the budget. Nothing like this happens in the developed countries. The budget comes and budget goes. There's some amount of ripple in the financial sector, but it doesn't matter too much to the general public. So what is the budget's important policy pronouncements? I would say for the futuristic, most important thing is the RBI coming in with the digital currency and the taxation of cryptocurrency. Whether cryptocurrency becomes legal, that's not true. The finance ministry says we are just taxing the profits. It is for other agencies to decide whether it is legal or not. So the most important for me futuristic pronouncement is the taxation of cryptocurrency and then the RBI's digital currency. The second is that the special economic zone policy, there'll be a new legislation. See, India is not very strong in the manufacturing phase as of now. And we've realized we don't have the infrastructure all over the country and the roads, the infrastructure, the electricity. So we realized you build special enclaves, give them special facilities of customs and roads and electricity, and then they'll grow and export. So that thing has been realized, it hasn't taken off, but now India has finally accepted that the special economic zone policy needs to be tweaked a bit and new legislation needs to come in. The disinvestment, as Professor Mr. Gupta was saying, disinvestment is a huge sort of negative thing in the budget. 8% of the disinvestment target was met. And I know people who are very angry. They say the department responsible for it, Department for Investment and Public Asset Management, they should be held to task. And I'm sure his secretary is under a lot of heat. I'm sure there's no denying that. And of course, for India to be a strong manufacturing nation, the production linked incentive scheme, which has already been announced, but the expenditures are being shown in this budget. And for solar panels also, if India ever has to become a manufacturing superpower, the production linked incentive scheme has to be successful. It's a very major scheme after a lot of debate between industry ministry, new planning commission and what have you. Everyone's got together and they're pushing it. And then last but not the least, I'll talk about education. The money for elementary education and all have increased a lot. 100 new TV channels are going to be introduced for the poor. The biggest sufferers of this pandemic have been the poor and lower middle income children who don't have access to computer facilities like you and me and who have to make do with whatever they have. So they've gone back a generation. They say the young kids in slums and lower middle income, they've forgotten their alphabets and numbers because they don't have the privilege of sitting in a room and listening on laptops and computers and earphones. So the government realized that it has really enhanced elementary level education figures and has proposed 100 new TV channels. So I'll stop at this point and then we can take the questions as they come along. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Anandji, for your wonderful talks. Definitely, we have covered so many aspects like growth-oriented budget, future roadmap, and not a populist budget. I do agree with you. There was ample scope for us to make it populist, but government didn't do it by seeing the elections, assembly election of the 5 states. Despite of that, we have controlled and we have made it a balanced budget for the future, not only for having this temporary gain. So this was a wonderful thing that the government has decided this time. And a few sectors that we have not touched upon today, like this Atmanirbharta in defense sector. So this is a wonderful thing that 68% of the capital procurement budget earmarked for the domestic industry in 2022-23, up from 58% in previous years. So we are going towards having this self-sufficiency in the defense sector, which is wonderful things that has been designed. And education sector you have covered up. In skill development also we have made so many new schemes. Energy sector to make India as energy self-sufficiency. Finance Minister has taken up so many schemes and projects in this budget. And of course, the critics, they are saying it a very boring budget or like that nothing is there in this budget. That may be generally the direct tax. Whenever there is no change in the income tax, then people, they don't find it very vibrant. there may be very small 5% or 10% changes, then it is a matter of discussion among the middle class and all the taxpayers. So the vibrancy comes from these changes in the budget only. But despite of that, we have taken up so many new schemes, project, policy, which will definitely create a new roadmap for the making this India a superpower in coming years to come. So now this much from the panel discussion of our topic today in budget 22-23 and the future roadmap. So I'll stop here. Now I would like to invite our another vice president of Rashtriya Boudhik Manch, Professor Sukumar Misra. So I just want to introduce Professor Sukumar Misra. He's a professor in IIT Delhi and also presently holding the post of Associate Dean in IIT Delhi. So over to you, Sukumar Misra ji, to take over the question answer session and to moderate it. And we can get the maximum from the three panelists that we are having today. And we can put the questions, whatever they are in our audience. Over to you, Sukumar Misra. Thank you very much once again.
Good afternoon to Dr. Jaina for giving me this opportunity, and to Rashtriya Boudhik Manch also for this opportunity to have an interactive session today. Before going to the deliberation on question and answer session, let me just introduce some of our dignitaries who are there with us in this panel discussion, and also as a audience to our August gathering. First of all, Dr. Sanjeev Patjoshi, who were there here as a joint secretary before leaving to Kerala, and now he is holding the post of CMD in Kerala. We are with us Shri Durga Prasad Sahu, General Secretary of RSS Odisha. Also, we are with us Professor Balram Pani, Dean College of Engineering, Delhi, and he is in Delhi University. Also, we have with us Dr. Vyasadev Naik, Indian Engineering Service, and working with Government of India. We are with us Pananal Bansali ji. He is President Rashtriya Seva Bharati. Also, one important dignitary is with us, Professor Arvind Chobe. He is Director, IIIT Bhagalpur. Now, as already discussed by our Honorable Speaker, Mr. Bhal ji, regarding the cryptocurrency and the digital economy, I have a simple query regarding that, sir. What is the negative impact of this cryptocurrency that will come when we go from the paper-based currency to the digital currency?
So, shall I respond now?
Yes, please.
See, cryptocurrency based on blockchains is not an easy thing to understand for the common man. It's quite esoteric. And in finance, they tell us the best way to handle risk which you don't understand is to avoid the risk. See, a lot of small people, small timers, small investors have put money in cryptocurrency and the volatility is too high. Even financial experts, forget me, I'm just more economics guy. Even for me to understand the sort of nuances of cryptocurrency is very tough. So at this time, the government has just signaled that they're going to tax the cryptocurrency benefits, but they haven't embraced cryptocurrency in its entirety. You know, there's still element of danger. If you ask the cryptocurrency, they'll say small investors should avoid it. The amount of volatility it leads to and the kind of, financial deep understanding it needs is not there for the common public. So cryptocurrency and then the Bitcoin technology and all is something which all of us should embrace very gingerly. We should tread cautiously, and it's not something which is out there and that you can just go and understand it. My advice to everyone and my advice to myself also is to first to read up much more about it, understand it, accept the risk, and only then sort of indulge in it. Otherwise, a lot of common investors will be just swept away by, the cheap, quick gains they think they are accepting. They might not. Most of them will end up losing it. In any of this financial gimmickry, is the uninformed investor, the small investor, who ends up losing. The big guys will run away with their cryptocurrency assets and get away from it in time. But there's the poor and uninformed guys who will suffer. That's my limited knowledge about cryptocurrency. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for giving a very nice information about this cryptocurrency and how the common man will be taken away. And in fact, the blockchain technology which will coming up will be having a detailed stamping pattern of where it has initiated and where it will go to end. And in fact, it will be a archival thing for all life to come. So therefore, the total scenario will change, and it will make definitely a game changer in the economic sector as well. And in fact, a lot of AI technique also will be introduced into the blockchain technology to make it a more reliable and more secure in the long run. Now,
can I add something?
Yes, please.
Just 2 lines I would like to add. I fully agree with the Honorable Mr. Anand Singh that it's a very upcoming field, and many cautions are needed before making any investment. And I am proposing that you should conduct a separate session on the cryptocurrency. My only one sentence answer to your question is that cryptocurrency is not a currency. This we must keep in mind. Digital currency may be equal to a fiat currency once the digital currency is issued by the Reserve Bank of India. So there is a lot of confusion what the digital currency is, what the cryptocurrency is. Both are absolutely 2 different issues and 2 different assets. So this need to be appreciated. We will discuss the nitty-gritties sometime else. But because you asked a question and Mr. Anand Singh cautioned you, so his caution was absolutely right, but that was with respect to the investment in the cryptocurrency, not with respect to the digital currency.
Yeah, it's a very good point.
I have a question from the audience. Can the panel experts member give an insight how we can reach 9.2% growth rate?
Yeah, so let me take this initially. See, when I was in industry ministry, we were the first one. We wrote the official report on India reaching the $5 trillion economy. And there we had looked at all the sectors, manufacturing, services, and trade, and tried to single out 9-10 sectors where the focus should be there. See, India's best growth phase was from 2003-4 to 2011-12, when we grew at about 8 to 9% per year in real terms, not in nominal terms. That was our best phase from about 2002, 2003 to 2012-13. Right now, of course, the pandemic has broken the market everywhere, but still now we are jumping back to 8 to 9%, which is a great thing. So the thing is, Indian economy has already chosen the right path. We are going for self-reliant, Atmanirbhar India. We are going for production-linked incentive, heavy emphasis on manufacturing. We are going for the digital economy. All this will enhance productivity and boost the growth in the economy. Agriculture, as it is has done well even in the pandemic. It was only the manufacturing and services which were down. So manufacturing will also come back with this big scheme of production-linked incentive and the strong digital focus. And the services sector, India is a strong point. Abhi to contact-intensive sectors were hampered by the corona, but let the pandemic go away and they can again our services sector, hospitality, trade, finance, all that will take up. And in the long term, we might not make 9%, but 7 to 8.5% is sort of what the potential of the economy, to me, it looks like. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
May I add?
Now, yeah.
Mr. Raji, just to add, because what happens that we are going to invest almost 40 lakh crore in this budget. So if you calculate a input output ratio of even 1.2%, 1.12 or 1.1, so growth will be almost, 8 lakh crore to 10 lakh crore. So this addition itself will, we are around 2,35,000 crores. So in addition to this alone will add this much. Then we have got the growth of inherent growth of industry, those who are growing otherwise also, not without this 40 lakh crore, because there are already investment going on, already something is going on. So those things together will easily put the growth rate at 9.2%. This is how the government calculates. Thank you.
Next, we have a very interesting and very elaborate question from Dr. Sanjeev Padjoshi. May I request Dr. Padjoshi to unmute yourself and ask the question? It's a very long question.
Yeah. Good morning to you all. Namaskar. Really wonderful to participate in this RBM. One of Priya friends, Mr. Patnaik, Professor Mishra, and our Parida, Mr. Parida. And I listened to it, 1, 2, 3 points. Actually, when you mentioned the cryptocurrency and taxation, I was wondering one very important thing. Cryptocurrency is not recognized in India as of now because it's not recognized. As long as I deal with the cryptocurrency, how can I be taxed unless I convert the cryptocurrency to legal currency, that is Indian rupees or whatever, or maybe in future digital currency. Digital currency not come this year; it will be 2022-23 only next year, maybe next year. That's what not even. I think.
Can I answer it?
No, I'll just clarify question. So when I start,
Kumar, can I answer it?
I'm not doing it, but somebody does that. As long as he's dealing with the cryptocurrency, make a windfall also. You cannot tax him because he's not converting to any Indian
Yes,
currency.
that's right.
Yeah. So the purpose of the budget that we tax at 30% is really a misnomer because it is an international currency. Cryptocurrency is basically international currency without any boundary, without physical boundary. So he can do whatever he likes, but we cannot tax him if he's not converting. That means what the purpose of doing, because either you accept to some extent that, okay, we give recognition to the currency and we'll tax from that. And second question is, thing is that basically it is all fact, 80% of our income taxpayers are mostly middle class and lower middle class, having income of 7 to 8 lakh or maybe 9 lakh. And they are taxed. It is only few, even Honorable Prime Minister also admitted that more than 10 crore is a few 4-digit figure, or more than 20-30 lakh or maybe a lakh, so not many. So in that process, suppose if you do not give any income tax rebate, problem about the people are really heavily burdened with inflation. Transport cost, I mentioned in my question, high transport cost and high health expenses now, even in spite of the insurance, all those things, they have to pay because they have to co-pay system. And there is already food inflation is to some extent quite low. It has not come down still. And another quite a number, even job losses, even sometimes salary cuts is there. So unless you give them, I think I listened to the pre-budget discussion, all top economists were telling that if you want to have a purchasing power thing, you have to give money to the hands of people, those who are middle class or lower middle class. I'm not talking of the bottom middle class, below middle class, lower income, absolutely is different, because we are giving pre-subsidy, rice and ration, all those things, they are able to manage that. And my the two question and third question, I just missed out. I'll come again.
Can I answer, Mr. Sukumar?
Yeah, please.
Okay. See, your question is why they are taxing the cryptocurrency when the cryptocurrency is not legal tender as such. Your question is absolutely right. You see, first of all, the investment in the cryptocurrencies and the sale of it are being routed through the cryptocurrency exchanges. You must have heard of the cryptocurrency exchanges, CoinEx, DCX. There are a number of cryptocurrency exchanges. So the identity of the investor, whether buyer or seller, is very much available with the cryptocurrency exchanges. So it's just acting like a share as you do it in the equity share market. Second question is, when it's illegal, then how can you tax it? So let me give a very interesting and funny example to you. Even smugglers are being taxed. Even those who are dealing with the drugs, they are being taxed. Even those who are in the gambling trade, they are also being taxed. All because whatever income that is earned in India from whichever source, the government is not worried about the sources. Those who are indulging in illegal, they have to see whether they want to indulge in illegal activity or not. But the government is there to tax, so there is no harm in taxing it. That's what came to my mind, so I shared it with you.
So I gave a rejoinder. See, you said correct. Illegal profession is taxed, but illegal money is not taxed. See, even a illegal profession, gambler, but they are holding legal tender. In cryptocurrency, even illegal business, but they are holding a illegal tender itself.
What about smuggling?
There is a difference here. You say gambler, all smugglers are taxed, but they are holding legal tender in their hand.
It's not illegal. Anyhow, I think we can discuss in some other session because the time is also short, and let Mr. Sukumar take it over.
Thank you, sir, for a very nice discussion raising in this platform.
And I just missed out, I remembered. See, this year, NREGA, especially MNREGA scheme, the allocation has been reduced to 48,000 crores, something like that. I was in Panchayat Raj just till December. I found many states have 6 months default in payment of labor wages till now, even Odisha also, because a lot of people still call me. There are a lot of issues are there in all the other states also. And now reduced what happened, the problem what happened, the wages will further get defaulted because the states, it is a 60-40 share by center and state. And always state want center to pass on the money, then state gives its own 40% to the NREGA budget. So by that what happened, the rural, still the reverse migration people are loitering in the rural area. Not all 100% have not come to urban towns and cities for the factory employment because still there is an issue. And there is no specific program for the migrant except the free ration scheme. Except the free ration still continuing, that 80 crore people are getting free ration per month, whatever the allocations are there from the food grains. But other specific how to engage them, and NREGA reduced now, whereas further rural districts may come. That's what my prognosis.
That's correct.
Thank you, Dr. Patjoshi. We have the next question from Mr. Rajesh Kumar Tripathi. He Chief Operating Officer, Skill Development Institute at Bhubaneswar. May I request Mr. Rajesh to directly put the question?
प्रणाम, मेरा सवाल ये है कि we the citizens and we the mid level professionals, we do expect government to take few steps to downsize the level. That means the gap should be less between middle and rich and the lower income groups. The gap should be less. Do you find some specific steps this government has declared or taken in this particular budget to lower down this gap in classes? Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll take this question. The earlier question also by Mr. Patjoshi, that in the pre-budget discussion, most experts were saying there should be more money in the hands of the middle class and all. So, just to put things in a bigger perspective. So one side you have receipts, other side you have expenditure. You've decided that you'll go the expenditure way. You boosted capital expenditure by a huge amount. So on that, if you again reduce your receipts, that means reduce lower taxes, that will cause a sort of even more yawning gap for your fiscal deficit. So the budget making is always a sort of trade-off making exercise. And in this budget, it has been decided that the minimum exemption rate or the tax rates will not come down. And even in future, it will be sort of exemptions and incentives will be less. And, it will be more a straightforward sort of taxation policy. But obviously, that argument is there for a lot of people who say that the demand side has not been enhanced properly and just doing the supply improvement will not be true. But this government, in its wisdom, even during the pandemic, decided to stick to working more on the supply side rather than on the demand side. So that's one point. And this question on what the government has, see, globally inequality is rising. In pandemic, the inequality has risen much more in the developed countries and including in India. And here, as I said in the beginning, the government has not taken the stand of imposing inheritance tax or higher tax on the high net worth individuals or these others. The government in its wisdom has decided that growth be there, growth be there also in labor intensive sectors. All this will spread employment and money in the hands of the lower middle class and the working class also, and this will lead to a more sustainable growth pattern. So consciously, it has not gone in for heavy taxation of the high net worth individuals or the corporates or inheritance tax, where there was a demand for that. But the government stood by its stand and decided against it. It said the path to take is high growth, and high growth also in labor intensive sectors like leather, textiles, and what have you. All this will generate employment and put money in the hands of the people. And it will, see, inequality by itself is not a bad term. If the lower income people's incomes are also growing, and then higher incomes are growing much faster, then it's fine. It's just that the lower income people should not come down, which has happened in the pandemic, I agree. But normally, it should be equality of opportunity. It need not be a sort of equality of income and wealth all through. Broadly, I leave it at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So next, we have got another very interesting question from Chitrasena Raut. He is a Tahsildar at Bhubaneswar. And may I request him to directly put the question?
Sir, sir, you should ask this question. You should read this question.
Okay. In federal structure, it is difficult to extend the benefit to the real beneficiary. What exactly been done to the farmers in this budget?
See, the finance minister started off a budget talk with 5-6 minutes on the agriculture sector, how the MSP will be about a certain number of lakhs and crores. MSP purchases will be there, how digitalization will be brought in, how oil seeds and pulses production. We are still dependent on imports for oil seeds and pulses. So how those things will be improved. So as it is, you all know, there's been the farm laws, there's been so much heat and debate that no radical farm farm related measures could be introduced. But the government has gone ahead, and as I said, the MSP purchases are there, productivity increase through digital and stuff is there, and of course oil seeds and pulses they've talked about. I mean, this is what I can say at the moment.
I will just add, the government has put the target of 2.37 lakh crore for MSP, which is almost 25% higher than the last year. That is the one. Then they are giving incentive for chemical-free, cultivation, which is very revolutionary because there is a demand for such kind of organic products. Because it is not exactly organic, but what it is zero-based budgeting. A farmer need not spend anything extra when he cultivates. That is the second point. A third point is drone technology has been introduced for the agriculture sector for spraying of pesticide at the moment, but the same drone can take a something else also. And the fourth one is the Ken Betwa, this irrigation project. And of course, continuation with the Kisan Samman, where they are being given 500 rupees per month every household. So that is also a very big thing. So, and there are plethora of other things, that seeds, productivity related, fertilizer, all these things are taken care of for this farmer. But the point is that what he's saying, that how it is being transferred, it is that through direct benefit transfer it is going to take place, and which is happening. So roadmap has been given. And idea is to increase the farmer's income almost 2 times. It was supposed to happen by this year, but now because of pandemic, it will be delayed by another 1 or 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for a nice elaboration of the question and the answer. Now, can I ask Surya Bhai to put his question? You are muted, Surya bhai.
The budget saying the debt servicing ratio, the debt is so much and the service is debt servicing so much, money outgo is outlays there. So how to manage this in future? My question to both the speaker.
Can I answer this?
Yeah, please.
As I told you that 42% of total receipt goes for this debt servicing, and this question is very correct that it is very high. And again, government is going for large borrowing of almost 11 lakh crore, which is almost, 25% of the total budgetary expenditure. But then what happens, as I was telling you, that 9.2% growth rate. So what will happen? That much extra is going to come into the economy. So if government wish, they can, reduce this much of debt next year. But what happens? This debt will continue to take place, and because every year something needs to be done. So that is not a bad thing, so long you are able to service it.
True.
If you remember, recall, in 1990s, the debt servicing by Brazil was almost 70%, where they were not able to manage expenditure going towards the investment. What I said in the beginning, that it is a very bold budget because only 8% of the total budget is going for subsidy. And which is very important because 80 lakh people are to be given ration, free ration. Farmers need to be given 6,000 rupees per annum. Fertilizer subsidy. So all these are required, which is going only to the needy area. PM Awas Yojana, 80 lakhs of houses, which will not be productive, but it will give a sense of, quality, hygiene standard to the household, poor people, which will lead to more healthy environment, etc. And that will be more productive. They become more productive. So all these things are there. But how do we direct all these expenditure borrowing towards growth of goods and producers? That is the question.
Yes.
So this is what I can tell you. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have another question from our Vyasadev Bhai. He is Vyasadev Naik, IES to Government of India. Can I request him to directly ask the question, please?
Hello.
Yes, please.
Actually, sir, namaskar, sir, Arun, sir. I have already written to you given to Tapas, and I thought he will say the question. Actually, I have the first question he has already told, and how 9.2% GDP will be achieved. And it is I understood. Actually, it would be maybe 7 to 8. And another suggestion, sir, I want to give to all the economists here. Okay, sir, cannot be there is a link between the budget of states with the central budget. Sir, Arun, sir, can you just give some light on it?
No, actually, in this, Basdevji, very good question. In this budget also, you will see that where the money is going.
Yes, sir.
Almost, if you see that state governments are getting something almost 30 to 40% of the receipts, it is going to state government. So that is one. So the state government is getting its share. Secondly, they are also going to raise certain taxes, octroi, some kind of state, non-revenue taxes are there, which help them in, land taxes, etc. And together with this share in the GST and the direct taxes, those state government will also give their own budget. But what happens, central budget is almost 10 times larger than the state's thing. So it drives the, investment and growth. That is my answer.
Sir, again, I couldn't understand. Suppose there will be coordination. If it is better that it is 10% higher than the state governments, and state governments are getting the share of
10 times, not 10%, 10 times higher.
10 times. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Lekin, but my point is, if there is a link, the states can do better, and even if the centers also can do better. My point is that one, sir.
In federal structure, state government has been given some of the charter like agriculture, industry, health. These are state subjects. They have to take care of that. But then central government supplement their efforts. So they, that is one. So state government is spending on health infrastructure, central government is also spending. In addition to that, 40% of the total budget receipt goes towards the state government, GST, etc. So that way you can say it is indirectly. Where will they go? If they overspend, they will have to come to RBI. Can you imagine the finance secretary of state governments are always requesting, जैसे बोलते हैं ना, daily request करता है RBI को कि भाई कुछ पैसा दे दो. RBI बोलता नहीं दूंगा. कहाँ से लगा पैसा? They cannot print. So this is the indirect way of doing it. So that is
But sir, my point is only there should be a little bit coordination between the state government budget.
Political party है तो थोड़ा सा तो problem होगा ही ना. थोड़ा सा problem होगा.
Thank you,
They
sir.
all are overspending.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for nice discussion. And the last question, though there are many questions and we could not take all the question in detail, and there will be some leave out of the question also. However, from this last question side, I can say, may I say Dipendra Srivastav ji to unmute and ask his question.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Basically, my questions for the individual investors, as government has have capping for the 10% long-term capital gain, 10% charges on the long-term capital gain after 1 lakh. So it should be reduced to help to our country's investors who are afraid currently कि अगर 10% से ऊपर हुआ तो कैसे हम लोग चार्ज फी भरना पड़ेगा, टैक्स कटेगा, तो लोग डरते हैं इन्वेस्टमेंट से.
टीम श्रीवास्तव जी, लॉन्ग टर्म कैपिटल गेन टैक्स जो है अभी 10% का, नहीं, ये तो आपका बात बिल्कुल सही है कि टैक्स अगर ज्यादा रहेगा तो लोग कैपिटल गेन में जाने से डरेंगे और माने अनप्रोडक्टिव इश्यूज में, गोल्ड में, सिल्वर में लगाएंगे जहां. बट बैलेंस हैज टू बी मेड. इफ यू सी वर्ल्ड ओवर, it is long term capital gain tax is nowhere it is less than 10%, rather it is more outside. At the same time, हमारे यहाँ जो tax का है total, it is coming to 35% of the total taxes on the individual. America it is 45%. But I am sure that what you are saying is correct, that if you reduce the tax, then people may go for more of investment side. But then government also has to run its country through salary, etc. But time is coming for all such things. Thank you very much.
Yeah, basically questions क्या रहता है इंडिविजुअल का. एक्चुअली आई एम अ फाइनेंशियल एडवाइजर. तो हमारे जो क्लाइंट होते हैं वो बोलते हैं कि अपनी सैलरी पे भी टैक्स देते हैं, सामान खरीदते हैं उस पे भी टैक्स देते हैं, देन जो इन्वेस्टमेंट पे अपना बेनिफिट ले रहे हैं उस पे भी टैक्स दे रहे हैं. तो टैक्स बहुत ज्यादा हो जाता है. अगर आम आदमी की बात करें तो 50% सैलरी उसकी टैक्स में चली जाती है.
देखिए, मैं यही तो कह रहा हूं. मैं तो आपको सिर्फ एक एग्जांपल दे रहा हूं दूसरे कंट्री के साथ कि पहले से तो कम हुआ ही है, ये मानिए. तो जब हमारा देश आगे प्रगति करेगा तो हो सकता है कि हमारी मतलब कि जो नॉन टैक्सेबल सैलरी है वो ज्यादा हो, ये हो सकता है। मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि ये तो सरकार की मजबूरी भी है। ये 2.5 करोड़ तो सरकारी कर्मचारी है जिनका सैलरी देना पड़ रहा है, जो कि घटाइए, हम लोग करें कुछ करें। धन्यवाद।
Suggestion, sir. Thank you for your reward.
Thank you, sir. Now we will be coming to the last session of the conclusion and vote of thanks. Now I request our Surya Bhai, Director at ICSI, and also he is the National Coordinator of RBM, to give the concluding remark and the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Kumar Bhai. Today we have a very good discussion, very good topic, and I have connected to these great speakers, Mr. Anand Singh Bhal and Dr. Arun Kumar Jha. Mr. Sahu has told me that these are the authorities in this subject, so it is better they should speak us on this subject, and we got this speaker, and today we learn. Mr. Anil Gupta has already put the fundamentals of the questions on this subject, and Mr. Jha already said how it is a long-term budget, how it will manage the next 25 years, how the base has been put in this budget. Like that, Mr. Bhal also already said all these things to us, and the cryptocurrency, the issues, the long-term investment issues, all these are discussed in this session today. I have also heard that Dr. Sanjeev Patjoshi, he has very nice questions. Already Mr. Nayak also, many questions are come from many sides. Thank you for the questions. And today I'll thank Mr. Sangram Patnaik, Mr. Tapash Parida, and Professor Sukumar Misra, who has organized all these things in such a nice way. Dr. Jaina has moderated very well. Once again, thanks to the speakers. I will say in future, kindly give some time to us in various fora so that we can give these intellectual inputs to the people. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all the participants. It is you for whom it has been done, and without you, this cannot be done properly. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank
Jai
you.
Jagannath.
Thank you to all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And thank you, Suryanarayan Misraji. It is only because of our last touch we could able to get the flavor of real Surya Bhai. Right.
Thank you. Thank you, Sangram Bhai.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for attending this call. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now we are wrap up this meeting. Thank you. Namaskar. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Thank you.
Namaskar. Namaste. Namaste.